Everyone, we are back for another progress video for Damon Claw. With me as always is Corey. Say hi, Corey.
Hey, how's it going?
One of the first things we're going to do today is get in Corey's beautiful new wilderness art for level 1. You may have already noticed that Corey put up a really great time-lapse video showing the process for creating this environment art. So one of the first things we need to do, and you can see here, it's set up as a tile set, but right now it's got the other layers in there, which is creating unnecessary tiles for the actual foreground environment that the player interacts with. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to delete the background layer and this tree layer and this player layer. And so now if we go into tile mapping, optimize, it's going to remove all of those tiles that were making this stuff in the other layers. So another thing we need to do is, this is supposed to be the extreme foreground, which scrolls at a different speed down here. So we're just going to select this color and do that. And once again, tile mapping, optimize, get rid of the tiles that were making that. And I already checked inside the game itself and did the math, and the total tile width of this environment is 256 tiles. So we can go into frame, resize, and then I just always click frame size here to make sure these numbers are set properly to begin with before I start editing. And then in width, right now it's only 18 tiles. We're going to make this 256 tiles wide, and then we're going to make sure it's anchored to top left. And then I can just click OK, and now we have an image as long as the entire level. And then I'm going to switch to pick replace tiles mode to make sure I don't accidentally create new tiles. And
okay, yeah, and you can, like, there you go.
That
yeah,
works.
Something like
Okay.
that works, yeah.
all right, and then I'll grab this again. Yeah, that does work too, right? Like, that looks like it's tileable. So this will give us a little more variety too. And then I'll just keep stamping this one around once I figure out, yep, like that. There we go. That works. And there we go. Okay.
Nice.
Let's see, background, transparent pattern, there we go. And so now what we're going to do is save out under tile mapping. You'll see export all, and the tile map we want to be a PNG. We might as well do 24-bit, and then what we want is TMX, and then tile columns is not really that relevant, but let's see, they're 16 pixels wide. That seems a little overblown there, so we'll do something like 10 tiles, and then we select our output folder, which we'll just do the desktop, and then base file name we'll do FG for foreground, and then export. So now that that's done, we can just go right into construct and make sure we unlock the foreground layer. Make sure we have that tile map object for the actual level selected, and then we just go right here to load. You see import TMX. So I click that, and then I just go to the desktop and I choose FG. Yeah, I guess this is it right here. And replace image as well, yes. And we've got your new environment all set up with the optimized tile set. Everything just done for you, so that's a really convenient way.
Yeah, you may have to adjust the height of it because
Yep.
I'm not exactly sure,
Yeah, the position of it may have been different compared to the other thing. That's not a problem. We'll adjust that once I run it to see what has to happen there. And then we also need to unlock FFG layer, and we're going to update this with the new art as well. Just going to load, and then what were they called? New. There we go. Alright, so there's the new graphics, and we should not have to worry about this not being transparent up here because it's the same exact color as what it overlaps. And then, so the last thing is the tree, same thing, we're just going to load in the new art, and it is new tree, and make sure that the anchor point is right at the bottom here, something like that. There we go. Spiffy. Alright, so let's run this and see if everything is lined up okay. Oh, that's right. I just sort of arbitrarily moved the background, so right now it's too high up. You can see he's standing too high on the ground now. But we'll fix that in a second. But otherwise, it's looking great with the new art in there. Alright, so let's fix that. So I need to move it. It would actually help if I use the Z order. And where is the floor collide? Right here. We'll just temporarily move that over. And then theoretically, if we line those two up, it should be good. Something like about that, I think?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Alright. And let's see how this does. Layout. Oh yeah, it's going to have the red there. Oh no, that it's set to invisible, so it doesn't matter. Fantastic. Okay, that's good. But we do still have...
it looks like that foreground is
we have
dropping
to
a little bit.
lower that a tiny bit, no problem. Alright, so this, we'll just lock this. We'll unlock the FFG layer, which is the extreme foreground. Control A to select everything in the layer, and then we're going to move that down maybe 3 pixels. I'm always very scientific with my mathematical calculations. I try, run it, and then yeah, it looks like it could go up actually 2 pixels. So it was only incorrect by like a pixel, off by like a pixel. Alright, excellent. Otherwise looking really nice. 1, 2, and layout. There we go. That looks fantastic. Let's see. Is it cutting? Nope, it doesn't cut anything off. That's good. Nope, and Corey just spotted that we should also lower these trees by several pixels because they look like they're floating, so we're going to lower them down, something like that, Corey? Or you want it lower, higher, or is that good?
Yes, I mean, yeah, that's close. I mean, I can adjust the art on the bottom of them to make it blend in a little bit.
Yeah, you could even like just sort of chop it with transparent shape so that it looks like the grass is over the trees or something like that.
Yeah.
So we'll say that's fine for now. They won't look like they're floating on top. So that's good. We'll save our progress. So now that the new art is in, the next thing we're going to do is we want to do 2 things. We want to really flesh out level 1 and take our time to really get that feeling really fun and not too repetitive all the way to the end of the level. And one of the ways we're going to do that is introduce a functionality that we're just going to call scroll stopping, which is where you suddenly hit a part in the level where the scrolling stops, and then you have to get through a wave of enemies that come in, or new unique sub-boss enemies, defeat them, and then the scrolling will allow you to continue. And so we're going to do 2 things. I'm going to make that functionally work with something. I'm going to create a sprite, and we'll call it an anchor sprite. And we're actually, Corey made a really nice new variant of the Alt Birdman with totally new coloring and new armor. And so these are going to be the sub-bosses. There's going to be one coming in from either side of the screen after the scrolling stops, and they've got a stronger defense. Their shields are going to take much more damage. And did you, by the way, give it a different, what was it called, like block? Oh, hit shield. Yeah, much better. Yeah. So he's got a more powerful, able-looking animation for when he takes a hit on his shield and slides back. So these guys are going to be much more capable at defense, and we're going to also augment their hit points and their offensive abilities with the sort of boomerang scythe sword thing that they throw. So we're going to get him in. I'm probably just for this video going to copy and paste the Alt Birdman, basically AI code or all of the events to make them function. But the core of it is just going to be getting him in there and working in general. and getting the scroll stopping to work. That's the goal for this video. All right, so first things first, oh, and by the way, did you happen to save out as both a SCON and SCML? Probably not.
No.
I never do that until I'm just ready to import it into Construct. File, save project as, there we go, SCON, save. All right, so now, we drag this guy in here. Spider events, okay. Alright, now he's all set. Now what we do need to do for him to fully function eventually is to add him to the humanoid enemies. Humanoid enemies, yep. So we'll double click that. Oh no, I guess not. Edit. There we go. Birdman subboss. Add. Okay. Alright, and then the other thing we are going to do, let's sort of bounce back and forth between these two elements of this whole thing we're trying to work on here and create the sprite. So layers, I want to make sure we're working in the proper layer. Do it out here. We're just going to create a sprite. We'll make it much smaller because otherwise it just wastes memory. Let's see, what am I going to scribble out on here? We'll just do I don't even remember what they look like exactly, but an anchor. I think it's something like that. Yeah. Boy, this looks like Soviet propaganda now. That was inadvertent, I swear, comrade. All right, okay, good. So now we'll call this scroll stopper, and then we can make this bigger so it's easier to see and manipulate. And to make it easy to test, we'll put it quite early in the game. So we'll say right about here, get to it quickly, and then move all these enemies back for now. No, I guess I'll put them here. All right, and then, so now what we're gonna do, we'll put this one over here. We want to give this an instance variable called locked. And in the case of this one, I know we're going to have one Birdman subboss come from either side, so there's two of them. So we're making locked start with the value of 2. All right, so now what I'm going to do is give it another instance variable, and we're going to call this which, and we're going to start it at 0. That's fine, because we're going to create custom events that when one of these is on the screen, then depending on which one it is numerically, then we might do different things, like create a wave of regular enemies in a sequence to come at the player, or in this case create the 2 Birdmen enemies on either side, the one on either side. So I'm going to add a group, and we'll call this scroll lock sequences. We'll add an event, and we're going to say true and small true, and then add another condition, and that's going to be, did I name the thing yet? I think I called it scroll stopper. Yep, scroll stopper.
Yeah. Do we want this marker to represent the edge of the screen, or maybe the center of the screen?
Yeah, exactly. To me, it makes more logical sense for it to be the center of the screen. Yeah. Just as a video game level editor, I would want it to represent the center of the screen. So I need to figure out how to do that. So we're going to do compare its X, and we're going to do, because it's scrolling from the right, we want a threshold. So long as it's less than or equal to, and then system viewport left, FG layer, and then plus, and then half of the actual screen width will be the center of the actual screen. This real screen width was 396, and half of that is, what was it,
198.
98. All right, so this should be checking if this is now center of the visual screen. If I search under events here for, oh yeah, no, that would be in gameplay events. Camera. Alright. Every tick, hero, set position, camera, set X to player Bob X. And this is the object that has the scroll to behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So we can look at that here. Here's the camera and behavior scroll to enabled.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to do something to let the camera know that we're in a horizontally locked situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually going to give, right now the camera has a variable quake for when we want to shake the screen. I'm going to add another one called locked. And so now we're going to say when this happens, we're going to set the camera's value locked to 1. And then we can go back to those gameplay events for camera. And right here, every tick set X,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to add a blank sub-event, and we're going to move this down here. And this is now only going to be true if the camera's instance value locked is 0, right? So now that camera's position isn't going to budge on the X, and therefore the screen won't scroll if locked is any number other than 0.
Right.
So
another factor to this is you would also have to prevent the player from
walking
being
off
able
of
to
the
just
edge.
walk off the screen. Yeah.
That's a great point. Let's look at the controls for the player. We're going to need to just do a more aggressive, I might as well put it up here, new event above, and we're just going to do player box, compare X is less than the viewport left, G. And then, do you have any recollection how wide that border is? The Amiga interface border?
It's 54 on each side for the Amiga version. Yep.
All right, so that should handle the left-hand edge, and then same thing, greater than viewport right. I'm going to replace this with viewport right. Oh, and this should be minus 54. And
nice.
Yeah. Minus 54. Okay, theoretically, now the scrolling will stop when this reaches the center, and this is currently visible at start.
And no matter what, he'll be stuck in
He'll be
the
stuck
screen.
there for now, exactly. He won't be able to walk off the left or right edge. So let's see if all of this is working as intended so far. Yep, beautiful.
Cool.
All right, so, if we want the levels to start later on with him walking onto the level from the left-hand side, we'll have to do a thing that turns it on after you've got that forced canned cinematic walk-on screen.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's no big deal at all. So now we're going to get to that. It's going to reach the center. Uh-oh, scrolling did not stop, so something's wrong. All right.
Do you think the trigger once is not?
I really don't think so. I think I understand how that event works, but I can't think of anything else at the moment. So let's see if it works when you... Yep, look at that.
Well,
that's really weird.
Mm-hmm.
But now look, it's working perfectly. Beautiful new background art, Corey. Great job as always. All right, yep, it's working perfectly. So now we can add the specific stuff, and I'm going to add that into the group. So now I'm going to add another event, and we're going to say, and then this is going to be scroll, compare instance variable, which is 0. That's the first one. And this is where we are going to create object, layer FG, and then subboss, and then X we will do. For now, since they aren't going to have any functioning behavior yet, I'm just going to make them appear on screen, just so we know it's working.
Right.
And then later we'll copy and paste the code from Birdman Alt, and then do all that stuff to make them actually move around and attack you and get hit and all that. X is going to be viewport left, FG, plus, it was 50 something, so we'll do like 70.
54, I think.
All right, so this will definitely be visible on screen.
Mm-hmm.
And then Y, this is handy, we can just use the top bounding box top of the actual floor collide.
Okay.
And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to replace this with viewport right, FG. Oh, and then this should be minus 70. Okay, let's see what happens here. Oh, and then the one on the right, which way do they face by default? Yeah, they face to the right. So this one, we need to flip it. And boss, and where is it? There we go, set mirrored on x-axis, mirror. All right, let's see. There it is. And, oh, I don't see anything. Interesting. So under Spriter events at the bottom should be the Birdman boss. Oh, look at this. There's no sprites. Just the two collision boxes, that's why. Now how would that happen? Alright, I figured out what the issue was. It's really important when you're saving out your project as both SCML and scan for importing into Construct. You have to go into Spriter, choose File, Other File Actions, Custom Save Options, and unless you uninstall and reinstall Spriter, you only need to do this once because it'll, these settings will stay. But you'll see here, you have to have all of these special saving options all turned on. And this one is useful too because this one will make it so that if I save the scan version of the file, if there's already an SCML version of the file, it'll resave that as well, which is really handy when you're working in Construct with Spriter files. In fact, that would have resolved the issue. We would have never known there was a problem because it would have saved over the scan, the SCML that you had saved. So let me click Apply. So the issue was, Corey made this Spriter file on his end on a Spriter that wasn't yet set up specifically for those custom save options. So he saved the SCML, and I never resaved the SCML in my Spriter with the settings set properly for Construct. So that's why when it imported, it was not importing the sprites. It didn't have the data it needed to properly import the sprites. So we're going to save project as again and just resave over the SCML file. And now when I re-drag that in, we should see a nice cascade of sprites getting imported. Spriter events, and there you go.
Nice.
Alright, and so it's a good thing we didn't have, I added that trigger value because otherwise it would have tried to create 60 Birdmen on either side per second.
Right.
Or more, which would have been pretty bad. Nice. Now look, their movement behavior by default is set onto, but you can't hit them or anything. So that's all working. That's fantastic. So now we can readjust this to be, we'll say 30, let's see, how wide are these guys sprites? We'll to be safe. We'll just do
But I guess if they're going to come from off screen, maybe 20 or something.
Yeah, 10 or 20. We'll do 20.
Or 20.
Yeah. Alright. Alright. Save progress. And so now it's all just getting those Birdmen working. So we need to be in the level 1 event specifically, and so I think if I just do a search for alt, it's going to give me so there's basic Birdman 2. Okay, this makes it really handy. So 35, clear search. So we can just copy all this. There's some stuff that's not in there. Should it just be in there? Birdman 2 is Birdman alt.
Right.
So why not just drag all of this in there too? And that's just going to make it way easier for me to, that might as well go in there too. That's related to the Birdman. So now we can just copy and paste this whole thing, and we'll call this boss. And now we can just, in one fell swoop, select the whole thing. Make sure, if you click here, left click here, everything should be selected. And then you can just replace object, and we're going to replace Birdman alt with Birdman subboss. And then we also have to do it for his different hitboxes and stuff. So we're going to replace object, Birdman alt sprites, Birdman alt box 000, and subboss sprites box 000. It should all be working. The only issue right now is he's going to be throwing the regular alt Birdman's weapon instead of his own because we didn't import it into Construct. And also his shield, when his shield gets shattered, it's going to turn into the other, the regular alt Birdman shield. But aside from that, theoretically, it's all working. Let's see how catastrophically I messed this all up. Do a test run here. There it is. Uh-oh, now they're not showing up again. That's interesting.
Yeah, we did change it to where they spawn off screen, so maybe they're just not coming into view for some reason.
That's a great point. So they're probably still spawning properly, but I probably missed something with their behavior, so they're not walking toward the player yet.
Right.
So that's interesting. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, we're just going to verify that, we're going to get them on screen again. So we're going to bump this back up to 70 for now. Just remember that 20 was our desired setting later on. And then let's just quickly take a look at, are there other events controlling specifically Alt Birdman that were not in the Birdman 2 thing that would specifically control left and right movement?
Is there, when the enemies normally spawn based on those sprite positions, is there something that happens there that's different from just spawning them the way you
really
are now?
Interesting. That's a great point. So usually we spawn them with these types of things. This is called man spawner left. So let's look at the events for man's. Okay, you'll see this is what sets the animation to walk and gets them kind of activated, so to speak.
Right.
So we're going to copy all of this. So right here, this is setting the walking speed and all that stuff.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to copy all of this over from here to here and go back to level 1 events, go all the way down to the scroller. So after we create each of these, we need to set their things. So we're going to replace object Birdman alt with Birdman subboss. And then when we're setting these variables, we need to make sure we're not doing it based on man spawner because that does not exist. Set bullet speed. So that's good. And then so now I can just copy this again now that it's for the proper Birdman subboss. And his angle of motion though should be, I believe, 180. All right, custom speed. Oh, okay. So we're going to make this 80 as well. So I think sometimes there are situations where we change the bullet speed, like his horizontal movement, but then we need to change it back to what his default is supposed to be. So custom speed is that particular character's default speed. So we need to set that to the same value. Now I think, thanks to Corey, this should be fixed. We'll see. Bam.
Nice.
And they work, they attack. I think I should be bumping into them and getting... Yeah, I'm getting hit by the weapons, which makes sense, but... Yeah, so it mostly works, but yeah, we just need to hunt down that event and for Alt Birdman and see why we somehow missed it for Boss Birdman. It looks like I found a bug that I caused when I was... Apparently I was sloppy when I did the replace to go from regular Birdman to Alt Birdman. I replaced one of the wrong boxes. So this should be his regular body box, which is just called box _ 000. But in this case, you'll see I accidentally did, there's a special glide bounding box, which I could show you in here, right there. And that touching the player should never affect the player, obviously. So that was a bug. And obviously that same bug got carried over when I copied and pasted this and replaced everything with the Boss Birdman equivalents. The same bug carried over. So I need to replace object Birdman alt sprites, Birdman alt leave, and we're going to replace it with the regular body box, box 000. There we go. So that fixed it for Birdman alt. Now we need to do the same thing for the sub boss. So let's find...
There it is.
So replace object Birdman sub boss leave with subboss regular box 000. Okay, so now theoretically, there we go.
Nice.
Now they are, for all intents and purposes, fully functional. Oh, I spoke too soon. So there's one other minor bug we need to eventually hunt down, but I'm not worried about that for now. The important thing is they work for the most part. We can destroy them. So now we can add the part that once they're both destroyed, that this thing gets destroyed and scrolling will go back to normal. All we have to do for that is go into the events. We need to find the Birdman boss death trigger. So that's all right here, I think. There it is. So now here, we're going to add another sub-event. And we're going to say scroll stopper, compare instance variable, which equals 0. And we're going to subtract from locked 1. So anytime one of these bosses if there's a thing that exists, a scroll stopper, and which is set to 0 for it, then you subtract 1 from locked. And then what we can do is we'll go back down here, and now we can have insert above and scroll stopper. And again, we need to check if its which value is 0. And also, if locked is 0, then we're going to destroy the scroll stopper. And we are going to, very importantly, the camera, we're going to set its value locked to 0. And that'll unlock the scrolling. And now that we know all of this is pretty much working, we can put these back to 20 instead of 70.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this should be it. Let's see. Okay. Here come the birdmen. Beautiful.
Nice.
Just need to kill them both. Oops. Trying to do it with a little style, but failing miserably. And there we go.
Cool.
Very nice. All right. So there's the really basic stuff. Here is the boomerang weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And so our two options are, I think I'm just going to clone it. Clone an object type. And for now, we'll just make it bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to eventually need to find all of the events with boomerang and do the same thing, copy the events, and then replace object and replace these with these.
Mm-hmm.
And then same thing for the broken shield.
Right.
Which is, here it is. So broke shield, and then same thing, clone object type, and then we'll just make it bigger for now. So eventually we need to get in the real art.
Mm-hmm.
Did you happen to notice what that sprite was called? The boomerang was just boomerang. I'm pretty sure. Birdman 2 we don't want to change, but all of these, in specifically sub-boss,
Okay.
replace object boomerang with boomerang 2. Alright. And then same thing with the shield. So it's the same thing, just selecting everything. Replace object broke shield with broke shield 2, and let's see if this was enough to get it all working. Aside from that, I don't think for this video it's worth, everyone knows how to replace the art in a standard construct sprite with the other, like if you've seen our other videos. So let's see if yep, those are the bigger ones, that's for sure. And that was the bigger shield too, so that's working. So we'll hunt down those minor bugs later, but there's, and scrolling, oh, that looked weird. It looked like the player teleported. Did you notice that? Oh, and I think I know why too. Okay, yep. It's because the camera is set to follow the position of the player in the X. Mm-hmm. So even though the scrolling stopped based on the camera, like the camera's position stopped, as soon as the scrolling gets back to normal, the camera teleports.
Right.
So
we'll just have to do like a slow pan back to him, or fast enough to keep up with him.
We'll have to figure out a way to make that happen gracefully. All right, so Corey and I did a little bit of discussing to figure out how we want this behavior to act to deal with this teleporting camera situation. And we think the best situation is going to be as follows. Choosing the camera and giving it another behavior, which is going to be the move to. We're going to go back to gameplay events, and for that, every tick for the camera that only does it if it's locked, we're going to add another condition that is camera cannot be moving. Invert that, so it can't be moving at the time, and locked has to be 0. Then you teleport it instantaneously to the player. Mm-hmm. So then what we're going to do is we are going to make the camera move to X, Y. The Y we never affect anyway, so it'll just be to its own Y. We never hinder the Y movement of the camera to begin with, so its own Y is going to be fine. But it's the X that's the issue. That's going to be player box X, and then Y will be its own Y, so camera Y. Okay, and then set the player, set value, stuck and move to 1, and we're going to do player box, and we're going to ignore control, and then we need to add something else. So we'll add another thing above. When the camera reaches its target, so camera on hit target, and then we're just going to set stuck and move to 0, and we are going to stop ignoring control. So this might all work, but there might be things I'm not thinking about or that we forgot that we did that are going to affect this too. But we'll see. I'll lose control of the character for a split second after I beat them, Wow, yeah, that was so seamless. I didn't even notice anything. Let's do that again.
Hmm.
Like the camera movement was so
Seemed
fast.
to work, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That it was the perfect solution, apparently. All right, he's dead. So let's get into a really drastically different position so the teleport will be obvious. Yeah, ooh, nice. It
Cool.
definitely worked. We had spawners perhaps a little too close to the thing.
Yeah, those couldn't
Yeah.
all be adjusted.
Tweaked
yeah.
in the gameplay layout, level layout, but I think otherwise that was pretty darn good. Let me replay one more time, just see if there's any weirdness that I didn't spot those first two times. Drop kicking enemies is very effective at the moment. Nice. Yeah, no, that was really nice. We can increase the speed even more. I think the video's gone on long enough, and I think we accomplished enough. So probably before the next video, I'll import the proper art for the shield and the boomerang weapon, and then in the video, we'll probably tweak the behavior and hit points of the sub-bosses and just continue on with whatever else we think we need to start adding more of these segments into the level with different things. Like now we can add just a wave of enemies you have to survive through before the scrolling starts again, and we can start to really choreograph level 1 up until the boss.
Nice.
All right, so that's going to be it for this video. Thanks everyone so much for watching, and thanks as always, Corey,